Greetings, Spirit Island fans! I have shown you some lore, but there are a lot of fun little touches in the game itself that I find very enjoyable to observe. So let's take a look at those fun little touches, shall we? Greater Than Games always seeks to impress when it comes to thematic touches. Every card in Sentinels of the Multiverse is designed to evoke a comic book feel. Spirit Island is just as good as what it does, but it has a different focus. You can look at the events almost as if they were a fable, and a lot of the storytelling has that feel. Every card and spirit seems carefully titled so as to evoke dramatic imagery and to sound cool when spoken aloud. River surges in sunlight. Call to bloodshed. Drift down into slumber. Sharp fangs behind the leaves. The event and fear cards get in on this too. I feel like every round I can make dramatic narration using these cards to describe the events on the island. And of course, we have our general theming. In so many games, from Risk to Civilization to Age of Empires to Settlers of Catan, you see tons of colonialist themes. In those games, you are encouraged to find new land and claim it for your kingdom or empire. It matches history, find power and resources, and use them to get more. But this game is one where you do the opposite. This touches upon the more modern desire to preserve existing cultures and treat people like, well, people. You defend your home and kick the invaders out. I am all for the anti-colonialism here. And as a middle-class white male, I do recognize the irony in that statement. To continue on that thought, let's look at the game pieces. While this isn't something you would see in digital, I want to bring your attention to the material used in the game pieces. You will note that two different materials are used for the game pieces. The Dahan and Spirit Presence tokens are made of smooth wood, which is of course a natural material. However, the invaders are made of plastic, an unnatural material, and it is also no coincidence that the invaders are colored white. Moving on to something more minor and less poking the bears, I am always curious to see what elements are placed on different powers. Of course, very often it's pretty simple. If a power involves burning people, then duh, you have a fire element. If you are interacting with Dahan and or beasts, then you have animal elements. But sometimes they aren't so obvious. Why does Call of the Dahan Ways have a water element? Why does Terrifying Chase have a sun element when its other cards more frequently use moon? Fire seems like an odd choice for the flavor of this card. Many times elements are involved that are not that obvious. Sun and moon are the most abstract in this case. If you think of sun as heat, then that's covered by fire. But if you think of it as life-giving, then that probably fits better with plant or animal. And usually that is the case, the combination of elements informing the card. Moon has more associations with death, which is why a lot of the crueler spirits are associated with it, and sleep, so it shows up more in night cards. It is also linked to scary things, and you will see a lot of fear-making cards provide moon. You see more healing effects with sun or plant or water, and more destructive effects associated with the obvious and flashy elements, fire, water, air, and earth. And things that mess with living creatures get animal. It's very organized, but loose. The abstractness of a lot of these elements allow for interesting interpretation of what's going on. Something cool that I brought up briefly in the lore video last week was the growth of spirits. While it goes away towards explaining behavior in spirits, it actually also makes sense in the mechanics. This is mostly explained in the bio for Shifting Memory of Ages. As time goes on and the spirit gains power and grows bigger, they become less capable of perceiving time in the short term. They see time more in years, decades, eons, things like that. So a spirit that is too small can't affect things without a lot of effort and probably have a short attention span. The only time I can think of off the top of my head where they get involved is a blight card introduced in Branching Claw, where, in exchange for a scarily small blight pool, the small spirits of the island come together to help, providing a bit of extra energy and an extra card play. That does provide a bit of perspective, that several of the small spirits have to work together in order to do something that the player spirits can do at the start of the game. Now when it comes to spirits getting too big, you see that effect in the second wave scenario. That finishes the game and restarts it with the same board state. Granted, after some modifications are made to make things tougher. At that point though, you have to change out your spirits, and the ones you had become unavailable. They do still help by providing your new spirits with one of their old power cards for use during the third phase of the invasion. But heck, you can even see the growing of power in the gameplay itself, and how. The growth options given to each spirit is how they grow. They either get stronger energy gain, can do more things, affect things in new places, all that fun stuff. Placing presence is them getting bigger. They can learn to do things either by doing smaller things or forget those small things in order to do big things. So drawing power cards defines them a bit more. However, some of the powers can be split off, or severed. Placing Blight destroys presence. Some events or Blight cards make you forget powers. This would be your spirit actively losing power. So pretty much everything you are doing is quite diegetic in the lore. And I think that about wraps this up. If I missed anything that you wanted me to talk about, please do tell me. For now though, I hope I will see you next week for the last Spirit Island video of this month. Take care, friends. Beginning this one with a polo shirt and pajamas, because I am that kind of classy.